So welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs in a short span of time, around 20 minutes. Now, the purpose of this lecture series is very simple. You see, current affairs form a very important portion of your civil services examination, whether that's prelims or mains. Around 40 to 50% of your questions are directly or indirectly related to current affairs. Therefore, you cannot ignore current affairs at all. Plus, if you really want to feel confident about current affairs, then you need to cover them on a daily basis. You should have a daily habit of covering current affairs. But the problem is, you can't spend your entire day reading the newspaper, right? So, therefore, to facilitate you guys, we have come out with this lecture series in which we'll cover the entire day's current affairs, entire day's important news items. Only those news items which are important from the perspective of civil services examination. All the other news items we'll ignore. So we'll cover these important news items of the day within a span of 20 minutes or 20 to 25 minutes. Okay? All you have to do is just watch this lecture, spend around 20 to 25 minutes watching this lecture, and spend another 20 to 25 minutes revising this lecture. Okay? Now you can revise this lecture from the notes provided by us. So with every lecture, we shall provide notes in PDF form, and these notes shall be available on our Telegram channel. Okay? The link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comment section below this. All you have to do is just click on that link. It will take you to our Telegram channel, and from there you can download the notes for this lecture. So 20 to 25 minutes watching this lecture, another 20 to 25 minutes revising this lecture, and in just about 40 to 50 minutes, you'll be done for the day as far as current affairs are concerned. Now your entire day is free. Choose whatever you want to do in that entire day's time. Spend it reading or studying other parts of your UPSC syllabus. But as far as current affairs are concerned, you're done for the day. All right. So make this lecture series a part of your daily routine. It should be a daily habit of yours. All right. Let's begin this lecture starting with the topics we shall cover in this particular lecture. Okay. So first, let's take a look at the important topics that would be featuring in this lecture. Number one is Graded Response Action Plan, GRAP. As you all know, that North India is covered with smog. Heavy levels of air pollution are there in Delhi NCR region, National Capital Region, right? To combat this heavy air pollution, government and many other authorities of different governments, different branches of government like state government and central government, they have different authorities, and these different authorities are going to implement Graded Response Action Plan. Okay. In fact, Supreme Court has also said that you are already late in implementing this Graded Response Action Plan to combat air pollution. Now, what is this Graded Response Action Plan, GRAP? We'll talk about this. Then, right now, Climate Summit is going on in Baku, Azerbaijan. And there are some groups who are talking about eliminating fossil fuels. And the strategy that they have proposed in eliminating fossil fuels is similar to the strategy implemented to eliminate nuclear weapons. You remember non-proliferation treaty, a treaty to eliminate nuclear weapons or preventing them from proliferating to different parts of the world, right? So these activists are saying that we need a similar treaty, similar non-proliferation treaty for fossil fuels. Okay, so the strategy we used for preventing the proliferation of nuclear weapons should be used to prevent the proliferation of fossil fuels. So for that, they have come out with a treaty called Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty. So what is this? We will talk about this. Then recently, an organization called Global Forest Watch, GFW, came out with a report, and they said that India's forest cover has declined. Now, taking cognizance of that report, National Green Tribunal sent notices to Forest Survey of India and Ministry of Environment. The notices were about explaining what was this report all about. Okay, so Forest Survey of India and Ministry of Environment have categorically denied the findings of Global Forest Watch. Okay, they have said that India's forest cover is increasing day by day. So what is this report all about? What is the definition of forest cover? Okay, we'll talk about all these things in this third topic. And in the end, recently, data related to unemployment has been released. And this data was found out by Periodic Labor Force Survey. So what is this PLFS? In the end, we'll talk about this. What are the labor force indicators I was talking about? and who releases PLFS. So we'll talk about all these things in this fourth and last news item. All right. So we'll focus our attention on these 4 items. Let's begin this discussion starting with topic number 1, that is graded response action plan. So recently, Supreme Court has reprimanded and questioned Delhi government over delay in implementing stage 4 of GRAP. Okay, Supreme Court has said that you have been late in implementing stage 4 of GRAP. Currently, air quality index has exceeded 450. It's way more than 450, and this is very wrong. In fact, Commission for Air Quality Management has also recently issued that you need to implement stage 4 of GRAP. But the Supreme Court has said that even Commission for Air Quality Management was late in issuing this direction. In fact, Supreme Court has said that even if AQI drops below 450, stage 4 should be there. Now, what is stage 4? Of course, if there is stage 4, there must be stage 1, 2, 3. And what are the stages of GRAP, Graded Response Action Plan? Let's talk about this. Okay. So, what is GRAP? You see, every winter, Delhi and the National Capital Region around it suffers from smog, heavy air pollution. So, to combat that, a graded response action plan was proposed. It was approved by Supreme Court and notified in 2018. Now, what is this action plan? Okay, the word graded over here is important. All right. Now, the thing is that it is an incremental action plan. By incremental, I mean that if air quality index is in poor category, then stage 1 will be implemented. If it's in very poor category, stage 2 will be implemented. If it is in severe category, air quality, then stage 3 will be implemented. And if it is severe plus very severe category, then stage 4 will be implemented. Now, what are these stages? Let's suppose air pollution is in poor category. Then stage 1 of GRAP will be implemented. In stage 1, some actions would be taken to prevent air pollution. So for example, garbage burning would be stopped, heavy fines would be imposed, periodic mechanized road sweeping would be done, right? So some of the actions would be taken. But if air pollution comes to stage 2 or very poor category, if it reaches very poor category, then more strict actions would be taken as per GRAP. Stage 2 would be implemented. Now, stage 2 consists of stricter actions than stage 1. Stage 3 consists of even more stricter actions than stage 2. And stage 4 consists of strictest actions to combat air pollution, like entry of trucks, except those carrying essential commodities, would be stopped in the NCR region. Construction activities would be stopped. Odd even scheme with exemptions would be implemented. A task force would be formed to suggest additional measures. Okay, the stage 4 is the most severe, the strictest action plan. Okay, now this action plan would be incremental in nature. The action plan or the stage of this action plan would depend on the air quality. Okay, lenient actions would be taken in stage 1. Some strict actions would be taken in stage 2. Strict actions would be taken in stage 3, and strictest actions would be taken in stage 4. Okay, so this is what we mean by graded response action plan. And the thing is that this graded response action plan would be implemented by government authorities, okay, whether that's state government authorities, okay, Delhi government, the neighboring areas, the NCR region, okay. So NCR region consists of Gurgaon, Noida, right? Now Gurgaon is in Haryana, Noida is in UP. So neighboring state governments would also implement this graded response action plan, okay, and Supreme Court actually keeps a check on it. Now, to monitor air pollution and to issue directions in combating air pollution, a commission was formed called Commission for Air Quality Management. Now, this commission, this CAQM, is responsible for combating air pollution in NCR region, the entire NCR region. So let's talk about CAQM, because Supreme Court has even reprimanded CAQM that CAQM was late in issuing directions to implement stage 4. Okay, so what is CAQM? CAQM is a statutory body. That means it was formed by an act of parliament, by a law. The name of the law was Commission for Air Quality Management in National Capital Region NCR and Adjoining Areas Act 2021. Now, it undertakes actions for prevention and control of air pollution in Delhi, NCR and adjoining areas. The commission is required to coordinate its actions with local governments, Delhi state governments basically, Delhi government, UP government, Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan government. And remember, all the directions given by CAQM are binding in nature. It would be mandatory for public officials to follow up on these directions. Now, CAQM has a chairperson, which is an IAS officer of the rank of secretary or chief secretary. Okay. Then there are 5 ex officio members. These ex officio members are taken from state governments. So a secretary level officer from UP, a secretary level officer from Punjab, from Haryana, from Rajasthan, and from Delhi would function as ex officio members of CAQM. Then there are some technical members also, okay, which have technical knowledge about the subject. These technical members would be from Central Pollution Control Board. One member, so there are 3 technical members, okay. One would be from CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board. One would be from ISRO, because ISRO member would have a better knowledge of weather and stuff, right? Because he could monitor satellite based data. And the other would be from Niti Aayog. So these are the 3 technical members, and some non-technical members who would be taken from NGOs. Okay, so this is the structure or composition of CAQM. These are the functions of CAQM. All right, this information is important because MCQs might be created from this and can feature in your next year's prelims examination. So be careful about this information. All right. Now let's move on to our next news item, which is very important. And currently discussions on this news item or this issue are going on in climate summit, which is taking place at Baku, Azerbaijan. Okay, which climate summit? COP29, right? We have talked about it. Now, what is this fossil fuel non-proliferation treaty? Should fossil fuels be regulated the way nuclear weapons are? So you remember, to prevent proliferation of nuclear weapons, there was this treaty called non-proliferation treaty. Should fossil fuels be also regulated or treated as nuclear weapons? Because fossil fuels are as dangerous as nuclear weapons, because use of fossil fuels is causing global warming and at a rapid scale. Okay. So a group of governments, civil society organizations have an initiative called Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty Initiative. And this initiative is advocating the idea of creating an NPT for removing or monitoring or preventing proliferation of fossil fuels. So the way we stop proliferation of nuclear weapons, there should be another treaty to stop the proliferation of fossil fuels. Okay. So they are advocating this idea that all the countries should come together and sign this treaty, and this treaty would treat fossil fuels at par with nuclear weapons. Okay. Now, what is this treaty? So FF-NPT proposes to make it legally binding on nations to end fossil fuel extraction. So they should stop fossil fuel extraction now. The fossil fuel that has been extracted so far can be used, but new extraction of fossil fuels like coal, petroleum, and all that should be stopped. Wind down existing production. So the existing factories and mining companies that are taking out coal and petrol and diesel should reduce their production levels and manage a just transition to renewables. Now, transition to renewable energy, because why do we extract fossil fuels? For energy. So we need to shift to renewable energy, and this transition should be just, because if we dramatically shift to renewable energy, then it would lead to joblessness, especially among people who are employed in this sector, who are coal mining workers, petroleum mining workers, right? So there should be a slow and just transition so that these people are not left behind and they are absorbed in the new renewable energy sector. All right. Now, this treaty has 3 pillars. Remember, first pillar is non-proliferation, which is about stopping the extraction of new fossil fuels. Then fair phase out, winding down existing production. So the existing companies should reduce their production levels and just transition to renewables. The word just is important over here. We don't want more people to lose their jobs. We want transition so that we transition to renewable energy. We don't use fossil fuels anymore. And the people who are dependent for their livelihood on fossil fuel industry should also get absorbed in this new industry. So these are the 3 pillars. Now, this treaty was conceptualized in 2016, right when the Paris Agreement was being finished. Okay, Paris Conference happened in 2015, and the technical details of Paris Agreement got concluded in 2016. So this treaty was concluded or conceptualized in 2016 and operationalized in 2019. Okay, now what about its adoption? how many countries, civil society organizations, NGOs have adopted this. So over the years, this treaty has received a backing of wide range of stakeholders. So UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon endorsed this treaty. Many indigenous tribes of Amazon endorsed this treaty. Several small island states like Hawaii, not Hawaii, but Vanuatu, Fiji, Pacific Island states have endorsed this treaty. Okay. At COP29, it was announced that 10 more countries have joined discussions on FF-NPT. So 10 more countries have given their have expressed their desire to work on this treaty. So far, India has not engaged with this initiative, but it is a matter of time that India will soon engage with this initiative. But so far, it has not. All right. Okay. Now let's move on to third news item, which is Global Forest Watch on India. Now, what was in the news? So basically, Global Forest Watch project came out with a data report, which said that India had lost around 2.33 million hectares of tree cover in recent times. Now, Ministry of Environment and Forest Survey of India have submitted that this assertion of Global Forest Watch is devoid of facts, devoid of ground reality, and internationally accepted norms. Basically, Forest Survey of India has said that this report by GFW is false. It is not true. India has in fact increased its forest cover. Now, how did Union Environment Ministry and Forest Survey of India get this opportunity to respond to the report of GFW? Basically, what happened was that Global Forest Watch released its report, and this report was covered in various newspapers. So, National Green Tribunal of India, which tries cases related to environment, National Green Tribunal took notice of those newspaper reports and sent a notice to Environment Ministry and Forest Survey of India to respond to these allegations made by GFW. So in an affidavit, these two organizations, Environment Ministry and FSI, have responded by saying that this report is false, it is devoid of facts, and in fact they have also published their own findings, saying that according to our findings, which have been scientifically proven, FSI says that according to our findings, India has increased its forest cover. Okay. Now, how is forest cover defined in India? This is also important, right? How do you define forest cover? So, as per Forest Survey of India, lands which are more than 1 hectare and have a tree canopy of more than 10%. Okay. So, what do you mean by tree canopy? Okay. So, the shadow area created by trees. Whenever sun shines on a tree, there is a shadow area created by trees, right? Make sense? So that is known as tree canopy. So if that shadow area is more than 10% of the total land, and that land, mind you, should be more than 1 hectare. So if the tree canopy density or tree canopy is more than 10% of the land, tree shadow area is more than 10% of the land, irrespective of the trees, okay, irrespective of the ownership, okay, or legal status, okay, they can be orchards, private orchards, bamboo plantations, palm plantations, all of that would be categorized as forest cover by FSI. Okay. Now, experts do not agree with this definition. They say that including orchards, commercial orchards, apple orchards, private orchards, bamboo plantations, palm plantations into the definition of forest cover grossly exaggerates the forest area. Okay. They say that private plantations should not be included in the definition of forest cover, but FSI disagrees. And that is why there is controversy regarding this. Now, what is the bone of contention between FSI and Global Forest Watch? So, FSI says that every 2 years, you have to remember this fact, okay? Every 2 years, biennially, we come out with Indian State of Forest report, okay? So, every 2 years, we come out with State of Forest report. The last forest report was in 2021, and in that State of Forest report, we actually published the figures of tree cover and forest cover. And we study forest cover using the best scientific methodologies which are globally accepted. So as per our report, forest cover has increased. Okay. Now GFW says that in our definition, okay, we have looked at India's forest cover from latest satellite data, and our definition of forest cover is given by United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization. So as per our definition and our observation, forest cover has decreased, whereas FSI says that as per our survey, forest cover has increased. Now, GFW says that we have looked at satellite data, but FSI says that we have employed the best scientific methodologies to measure forest area. Now, who is right? Who is correct? Well, the jury is out there. Okay, so that was the controversy. Now, for prelims, especially for prelims, you need to be familiar with Forest Survey of India. Okay, so here is some information regarding Forest Survey of India. So it is a national organization responsible for assessment and monitoring of forest resources of India. It is under Ministry of Environment and Forest. Naturally, obviously, it would be under Ministry of Environment and Forest. It won't be under Ministry of Coal and other things. Okay, remember this part. Its headquarters is not in New Delhi. It is in Dehradun, Uttarakhand. It was founded in 1981, and it is one of the major national survey organizations in India. All right, that's it. And we'll quickly jump to last news item of the day, which is periodic labor force survey. Okay, so why was PLFS in news? So quarterly unemployment rate. Now, what do we mean by quarterly? That is released every quarter. What is one quarter? 3 months. So 3 months is one quarter. So quarterly unemployment rate for urban areas declined to a record low of 6.4% in July-September quarter. July, August, September, 3 months, right? As against 6.6% in the previous quarter. That was April-June quarter, right? As well as it has declined as compared to July-September quarter in the previous year. So quarterly unemployment rate or unemployment rate for July-September reached a record low. This is good news that unemployment has declined. Now, this data was released by Periodic Labor Force Survey, and this Periodic Labor Force Survey is conducted by National Statistical Office, which functions under Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Okay. Now, this drop is the lowest since the start of PLFS. You see, this labor force survey, Periodic Labor Force Survey, started in 2018. Okay, before 2018 we had other surveys for measuring unemployment, but this periodic labor force survey was introduced in 2018. Since its introduction, never has the unemployment figure gotten so low in urban areas. Okay, now this periodic labor force survey actually measures labor parameters. Now, what are these labor parameters? Every survey would measure labor force participation rate, worker population ratio, and unemployment rate. So these three things are measured by every labor force survey. Okay. Now, what are these? We'll talk about them in a while. First, let's talk about PLFS. So it is conducted by NSO, which is under Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, to measure the employment and unemployment situation in India. Now, this survey was introduced in 2018 because we found that the previous methodologies and previous surveys to calculate unemployment were deficient. They had some limitations. Previous surveys were conducted by NSSO, National Sample Survey Organization. Okay, and they were deficient. They had some limitations. Their data was not that. Their methodologies were deficient. Their data was not that, or their data could not be trusted upon that much. Okay, so that is why, to improve upon the previous surveys, we came out with PLFS. Now, this PLFS actually releases two things. Okay, it releases data on LFPR, worker population ratio, unemployment rate. Okay, but in these three things are packaged in basically two things. Okay, so these three labor parameters are packaged in two things. So it comes out with quarterly estimates. Okay, 3-month estimates for urban areas using a survey approach called current weekly status. We'll talk about current weekly status some other time, but this is a survey methodology basically. Okay, so it calculates urban unemployment, and it calculates that every 3 months using CWS approach, and it calculates both rural and urban unemployment, but rural and urban unemployment together are measured annually, not every 3 months. So remember, this quarterly labor data is only for urban areas. For rural areas, it is annual. And we use a different methodology called usual status approach. Okay, just remember that urban unemployment data comes out every 3 months, rural data comes out annually. Okay, now what are these labor based parameters? Because remember, every survey not just calculates unemployment rate, it also calculates worker population ratio and LFPR. And together, these three are known as labor force parameters. So what are labor force parameters? Okay, we'll talk about them individually. So what is labor force participation rate? Okay, look, people who belong to the age bracket of 15 to 59 are called working age population because people in this age bracket work. The others, for example, people who are more than 60 or above, are called senior citizens. They are not expected to work. And people whose age is less than 15, well, they are called children and they are also not expected to work. Okay, so the working age population is 15 to 59. And among this working age population, okay, whoever wants to work, whether he's getting work or not getting work, whoever wants to work, whether they are employed or unemployed, would be categorized as people who are participating in labor force. Okay, so labor force participation rate actually measures the percentage of people in the working age population who are either working or seeking work. Okay, so basically it measures uh, the percentage of people in the working age population who want to work. There are people who belong to this age bracket, but they don't want to work, right? Like housewives, people who have rental income, they don't want to work or do a job. Only those who are willing to work, whether they are getting work or not getting work, that is immaterial. Who are willing to work would be categorized as labor force that is participating. Okay, so if LFPRA is 50%, that means 50% of the people in this age bracket want to work. Okay, this is labor force participation rate. What is worker population ratio? Very simple, percentage of employed persons in the population. So if it's 10%, that means 10% of our population is employed. What is unemployment rate? Remember, housewives are not considered unemployed because they don't want to work. The definition of unemployed person is that anyone who wants to work but is not getting work. Anyone who doesn't want to work and is not getting work is not considered unemployed. Anyone who wants to work but is not getting work is unemployed. So unemployment rate is percentage of working age population. Okay, only working age population. We do not include senior citizens or children looking for job but not getting it. Okay, so these are the three things that are looked upon, that are found out about in every labor force survey. All right, and that would be all. That's it. That's how we conclude today's lecture. Now, please do not forget to revise this lecture. Spend another 20 to 25 minutes revising these four topics that we have discussed today. And in about 40 to 50 minutes, you'll be done for the day. You just need to spend 20 to 25 minutes more. Please do not forget to revise, or else these current affairs would be forgotten in no time. So make sure you etch these current affairs permanently in your memory. For that, you need to do the necessary revision. All right. On that note, I'll be signing off. Thank you so much, everyone. And I'll see you next time with next day's current affairs. All right. Thank you, everyone.